Be with you. Joining me in studio, this is really cool. I've never interviewed Amelia Earhart before, but I've got a woman who's dressed to the nines with the aviator jacket, scarf, the glasses, the whole thing, the goggles. This is not the way you usually look, Heidi Siefkas, I'm guessing, but I like the look.
I figured it was an occasion to dress up, have a great time here in Boston. As I'm an author and adventurer, I decided I would dress up as another author and adventurer.
You are truly what you say you are, an adventurer. You show up here looking like $1 million, looking like you're about to take off and go solo around the world, but thanks for stopping by. Now, you're with your mom, we can mention that, and she was dressed earlier. She had some whiskers, and I know that's not her normal look, right?
No, it's not her normal look.
She was a lumberjack.
She was a lumberjackie.
A lumberjackie. Outstanding. You're my kind of person. I'm going to fit right in here. All right. You're the author of a book called When All Balls Drop, The Upside of Losing Everything. Heidi Siefkas, Siefkas. And let me just say at the outset, you look terrific.
Thank you.
Why do I say that? Because you've been through some stuff.
Absolutely.
Not many people think about the fact that they can be changed in an instant by a tree limb. Want to tell the story briefly? What happened to you?
Absolutely. Press rewind to 2009, so 5 years ago. I seemingly had it all. I was a travel industry executive, traveling to Berlin 1 week, Mexico City the next, hosting parties in the Playboy Mansion in Los Angeles, and in convention centers in Orlando the same week. Mm-hmm. I was married to a Brazilian chef, a homeowner in South Florida, and with an active and healthy lifestyle. Then on one of my travels, a 1,000-pound tree limb struck me down, breaking my neck and leaving me unconscious for days.
Now, we should tell people, this happened where now?
This happened far, far away from my home.
Okay.
It was in Poughkeepsie, New York, so in Hudson River Valley, New York.
All right. A tree limb, if an insurance adjuster were here, he would say or she would say, well, the odds of that, if you're an actuary, would be 1 in 10 billion or something. Do you know what are the odds? Have you ever factored
I have no idea. I was doing something as mundane as taking out the trash. Mm-hmm. And I'm a very adventurous person. I wish that I would have a story that I was climbing a mountain or kayaking, but I was carrying a pizza box out from the night before. But it reminds you that things can happen at your daily routine.
So Heidi's here. She wrote a book called When All Balls Drop, and it's really about, and a lot of people can relate to this, the suddenness of change. And change, in this case, was never very negative because you'd just taken out the trash and a 1,000-pound tree limb?
A 1,000-pound tree limb from about 40 feet high.
Okay.
Dropped on me. I had no idea that it happened, didn't hear anything, see anything, and the next thing I know, I wake up 5 days later in the ICU.
It's interesting. I was reading your book. I was thinking about an experience I had walking in the Boston Common several years ago. Nice day, and I looked up and I saw or heard a little crackling, and I saw a branch come down. Now, it was 10, 15 feet away, but I thought, wow, I could have been 10 or 15 feet further along and had that thing land squarely on my squash, and who knows. So you were knocked out, obviously.
Knocked out, and luckily a neighbor called the paramedics, and I immediately was transferred to St. Francis Hospital. And for that reason alone, I'm grateful, because it was the speed in which I got to the right trauma center that saved my life. What
does a broken neck mean? I mean, a broken neck usually means it's all over, baby. It's checkout time. But when you woke up, you were told what happened. Did it sink in right away?
Absolutely not. I was in denial for at least a month or two. My fractured vertebra was a C7, which is in charge of some major motor functions, so your hands. I also had major concussions, and they didn't know what the outcome was going to be. I spent those first 5 days in and out of consciousness, and on the 7th day is when I had neurosurgery. So a very talented doctor encapsulated my broken vertebra in something like cheesecloth, and then as a secondary precaution said, let's wrap this in steel. So it was going to be a natural fusion of the spine so that I could regain mobility in the ideal situation. And I'm happy to say that 5 years later, I am living an adventurous, healthy, full life.
You are very much the picture of good health, but the book is about what you go through, what anybody goes through when their life is turned upside down. Now, it's not just the physical, it's not just the tree, the accident, which is a freak accident, but it's also your personal life upended. And it seems like things pile on, doesn't it? When things are going bad for some of us, why does it that things seem as though they just fall in like ducks in a row? It also occurred at the same time, this break in your marriage, this issue, very important issue.
And I think there's that famous saying that bad things happen in threes. In my case, that was true. The day before the freak tree accident, I had discovered that my husband had been living a double life for quite some time. So the readers of the book are privy to this knowledge, but it was something that I did not disclose to my friends and family at the time because I was dealing with a larger issue, a broken neck.
You would deal, well, with a broken heart, then a broken neck, and of course, this happens the day before, and you don't mind explaining what it is you found out and how you found out. I mean, this is your husband who's a Brazilian chef?
Yes.
Okay. And what prompted you to figure this out?
I had this gut instinct that something was going on, and I investigated on his computer and found a confessionary letter from the other woman. It was about 12 pages long, detailing all of my deepest, darkest fears. And the reason why I stayed is I wanted to hear the truth from the horse's mouth.
So the recovery here, and people are listening who are going through all kinds of stuff, physical stuff, whether it be post-surgical or maybe they've got some kind of chronic condition. But the recovery from something like this, a broken neck, talk a little bit about the stages of that recovery, if you will.
The first recovery was leaving the hospital after having neurosurgery and being introduced to my companion for the next 6 months. And this was...
The cage?
It was the cage. It's called a Miami JTO, which is the typical neck brace that you've seen many people wear, but also a thoracic chest and back brace. So I was limited to that. No PT, and that immobilization brace would provide the natural fusion of my C7 vertebra.
So you had the surgery, when you have a broken neck, you had the surgery that they did a darn good job patching you up, but it takes many, many months for it to heal and for it to, the natural course of the body to sort of rejuvenate.
Correct.
Okay, which makes you, that's a real tough couple of months, isn't it?
Patience of a saint.
Yes, especially somebody who likes to be bouncing around, jumping out of airplanes.
Exactly.
So what was the worst part of that? Was it just being there or not being able to turn your head and all that kind of thing?
I thought that it was going to be that I was unable to return home to South Florida. That was, yes, a hardship. But the fact that I was unable to shower for that period was... I mean, when we talked a little bit about loss of independence previously, that is a loss of independence.
Yeah.
Unable to shower yourself. And in your mid-30s, professional, free spirit, to depend on your spouse or your mother to sponge bathe you was
things that
a reality
we take
check.
for granted
Yes.
every minute. Just getting up and getting a glass of coffee or tea or water or like you say, taking a shower or feeding yourself. I mean, these are the things that when it's not there, boy, you really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
So the cage, how long did you have to wear that?
I was in the cage for about 6 months, 4.5 full time, not removing it. And then when I had the opportunity to return to South Florida to my home, that was when I began weaning myself out of that cage an hour at a time because my body had weakened as far as my muscles of my back, neck, arms, shoulders. They needed to be retaught how to support my body. And I found that I was more comfortable in my cage than I was out of my cage at the beginning.
I can imagine. It's a scary thought. It's like getting up from a wheelchair, or people who use walkers, putting that aside. It's like walking and learning to do all over again, isn't it?
It was, and it was a security blanket. And there came a time that I needed to say goodbye to that security blanket and hang it up in the closet where it needed to be.
You mentioned, Heidi, that you're an only child, but did you fear being alone a lot when you were in this condition? When you were ever alone, was it really touchy because you were alone?
There were times that my mother and family members needed to continue on with their life. And I found comfort in things that I necessarily didn't before, in particular, 2 animals that kept me company here in Chelmsford, both a black and white tabby cat, Kasha, and then a German Shepherd, Meg. And their barks, their meows, and even sometimes their stinky flatulence kept me company when I was all alone in the house. I also found a lot of escape in reading. And when you can't travel, go back to your home, you can escape through the pages of books. Well,
your mind is still clear, and you use that effectively. I think people who have an adventurous spirit, it's very difficult to hold them down. I know I'm like that. I mean, I do not want to be held down. I don't want to be held back. But if forced to be held back, I need something to stimulate my mind, so a book is the best escape. As far as looking up is concerned, that's the message here, that despite odds and circumstances and all that, while we're still breathing, we still have hope, right?
Absolutely. And looking up is not necessarily something only for a catastrophe like mine, or a health scare, or a bad relationship. It's something that's so powerful that we can carry it with us daily. The reason why I wrote my story is that I think that there is a message that all can take from it. It's not that I have suffered more than others. It's just that I suffered a lot all simultaneously. And what got me through that was something that I call looking up. And it stems from the power of the mind and of perspective. I had lost everything. And what can be the upside of losing everything? It is the opportunity to reframe that situation. And I had the gift of redesigning my life.
So in a sense, this is your mission, and it was something that you came through, and now you're dedicating yourself, not certainly to your own life, but to sharing your story. And that's what a lot of people do, and that's a great gift to give back. By the way, I want to mention your website, which is your name,
Yes.
Heidi for Heidi Siefkas, Siefkas.com. And there you have a blog and detailing your life today. Good luck to you. Thank you so much for coming by. And I'm glad you're not only doing so well, but you're able to share your story. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's been a fabulous experience.
Yeah, great. And Heidi, again, has a website. Her name, Heidi Siefkas, Heidi. Siefkas is spelled Siefkas.